In solidarity with the ongoing national and local protests responding to police brutality and systematic racial inequality in the United States, the Ogden Museum of Southern Art has chosen to pause our virtual music programming, Ogden After Hours at Home, for the remainder of June 2020. We firmly believe in the power of music performance to uplift, heal, and incite action. Thus, we want to spend this time doing so while reflecting on and highlighting the history of Black revolutionary music in America. Thank you for joining us as we explore a variety of genres and eras that fundamentally shaped the course of not only Black music history, but American history in its entirety.
Anything I do sing, it's part of my life.
Born as Eleanor Fagan Gough in the year 1915, Billie Holiday was still quite young when she moved from Philadelphia to Baltimore, where she was enmeshed in the zeitgeist of the jazz age. She grew up listening to the records of Louis Armstrong and blues singer Bessie Smith.
Love will make you drink and gamble.
And when she moved to New York at the end of the 20s, it wasn't long before she started auditioning at jazz clubs and nightclubs in Harlem. She was only 18 when she was recognized by producer John Hammond, with whom she cut her first record.
You don't have to have a hanker to be a broker or banker. No, sirree, just simply be my mother's son-in-law.
In her early career, Eleanor came to the stage name Billie Holiday through the actress Billie Dove, whom she adored. Holiday quickly became wrapped up in a string of collaborations with the likes of saxophonist Lester Young and pianist Teddy Wilson.
Till somebody's found you and puts their loving arms around you, you got the feeling you want to die.
At New York's first integrated jazz club, Cafe Society of Greenwich Village, Billie Holiday learned of Communist Party member Abel Meeropol's poem Strange Fruit, which was inspired by a photograph of a lynching that haunted the poet. Holiday adapted the poem into a song, and she performed it for the first time at Cafe Society, where she sang consistently for about a year in 1938.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root.
Covered by many influential artists such as Nina Simone and Herbie Hancock, Strange Fruit is widely considered the greatest protest song of the civil rights movement. However, in 1939, Holiday's record label, Columbia Records, refused to record the song and designated its subject matter as sensitive and controversial.
Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees.
She ended up recording Strange Fruit both with Commodore Records and Verve Records. Time magazine deemed Strange Fruit Song of the Century. Between the 30s and the 50s, Billie Holiday continued to sign with various record labels and release classics despite her deteriorating health. She acted in the musical romance film New Orleans with Louis Armstrong in 1947.
You gonna help us out tonight?
What do you think I'm here for? What do you think, boys?
New Orleans! New Orleans!
Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss it each night and day? I know I'm not
Her last song, Lady in Satin, was released in 1958. To learn more about the life and legacy of Billie Holiday, you can read her autobiography, Lady Sings the Blues, or watch the film of the same name, starring Diana Ross.
Love is like a faucet. It turns off and on. Sometimes when you think it's on, baby, it has turned off and gone.
An artist's duty, Nina Simone once said in an interview, "As far as I'm concerned, it reflects the times."
I think that is true of painters, sculptors, poets, musicians. As far as I'm concerned, it's their choice. But I choose to reflect the times and the situations in which I find myself. That to me is my duty.
Having produced over 40 original albums in an unthinkable variety of genres, Nina Simone, the high priestess of soul, was the kind of musician who practiced what she preached.
And at this crucial time in our lives, when everything is so desperate, when every day is a matter of survival, I don't think you can help but be involved. Young people, black and white, know this. That's why they're so involved in politics. We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore. So I don't think you have a choice. How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? That to me is the definition of an artist.
Born in 1933 in North Carolina, Eunice Kathleen Waymon was something of a child prodigy. She started playing the piano at the age of 3, and after graduating as her high school's valedictorian with a penchant for Bach, Chopin, and Schubert, she was denied entry into the prestigious Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, a decision suspected to be animated by racial discrimination.
Say love me and leave me and let me be lonely. You won't believe me, but I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody else. You might find the night time the right time.
Waymon started her music career as a teacher and cocktail piano player, the latter of which encouraged the musician to choose a stage name, as she didn't want her mother to know she was making a living off the devil's music. At age 24, Simone started receiving industry attention. She first signed with Bethlehem Records before moving on to Colpix Records when she relocated to New York. Dutch-owned Philips Records, years later, brought her an international audience.
Mississippi, goddamn, this is our last tune. We had some request for it. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi, goddamn.
With Philips, Nina Simone recorded Mississippi Goddamn, a lyrical response primarily to 2 racist hate crimes in 1963. The murder of civil rights activist Medgar Evers in Jackson, Mississippi by white supremacist Byron De La Beckwith Jr., and the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, where 4 young black girls were murdered by members of the local KKK chapter. The single was banned in some southern states, and promotional copies were allegedly destroyed by various radio stations.
We're in the middle of a revolution because I see the face of things to come. Oh, your Constitution, well, my friend, it's gonna have to bend. I'm here to tell you about destruction of all the evil it will have.
Revolutionary was Nina Simone, not only in the recording studio. Indeed, she was among the protesters during the Selma to Montgomery Civil Rights March in 1965, where she performed with only her guitar and declared to Martin Luther King Jr., "I am not nonviolent." In any case, Simone was deeply affected by Dr. King Jr.'s assassination. which led her to release the song Why, the King of Love is Dead.
It's a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. It's some peace of mind. Oh yeah. Once upon this planet Earth lived a man of noble birth, preaching love and freedom for his fellow man. He was dreaming of the day peace would come on us.
Other songs that capture the revolutionary spirit and joy of Nina Simone include I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, a cover of jazz pianist Billy Taylor's composition, and To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, inspired by Lorraine Hansberry play of the same name. Simone began to experience increasing exclusion from the music industry. She started traveling frequently, becoming a global nomad as she moved between the Caribbean, West Africa, and Europe. Her health, and specifically her mental health, began to deteriorate, and she became a victim of breast cancer. She died in the French town of Carry-Louré, and her ashes were scattered across several African countries.
My skin is black, and my arms are long. My hair is like wool, and my back is strong. Strong enough to take all the pain that's been inflicted again and again and again and again.
This is called The Vulture, and a lot of people think it's a poem, and after they hear me sing it, they're sure it's a poem. But we're going to take a shot at it anyway.
The revolution will not be televised. You probably heard this phrase or a derivation thereof. This is a sort of expression that has exponentially outgrown its origins as artists, TV producers, and authors alike have lifted the sentiment but changed a few words around. For instance, the revolution will not be microwaved, or the television will not be revolutionized. But the short quip actually dates back to 1970 when spoken word performer Gil Scott-Heron recorded a song poem with Flying Dutchman Records, only to become a key slogan for the Black Power movement of the second half of the 20th century.
Stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox.
Before his political development and radicalization, Scott-Heron was a precocious young student with a full scholarship to prestigious private school, Fieldston, in New York City. He attended HBCU Lincoln University, where he met his longtime collaborator, Brian Jackson, and became involved in the Black Arts movement. After receiving his MFA at Johns Hopkins University, he taught literature and creative writing in Washington, D.C. for several years while simultaneously maintaining an emerging musical career.
Standing in the ruins of another black man's life, or flying through the valley that's separating day and night.
Scott-Heron released his first album, Small Talk, at 125th and Lenox, a boldly experimental spoken word production with Flying Dutchman Records in 1970. A scathing critique of both white America and a multicultural minority resistance movement, many have regarded his early work as proto-rap. Scott Heron continued to record with Flying Dutchman Records in the early 70s, switching to Strata East Records and then Artista Records until they dropped him in 1985. The album Winter in America, a collaboration with Brian Jackson released in 1974, was received as the two musicians' masterpiece, and their most artistically advanced work.
You see that black boy over there running scared, his old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5, he drink full time, and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared, his old man got a problem.
Despite several prolonged pauses in his performances and recordings, Scott Heron continued to make music up until the end of his life. The turn of the 21st century wasn't easy for him. He was imprisoned under a trivial charge, possession of cocaine, and confirmed that he was HIV positive. His final album before his death, I'm New Here, released in 2010, to the unexpected delight of his multi-generational fans and followers. He passed away a year later, in 2011, to the sorrow of a music community filled with utmost reverence for his contributions.
The Constitution, a noble piece of paper, with free society, the struggle but they died in